early on, when I started teaching people biofield tuning, the process is one of activating a tuning fork and coming in and finding the outer boundary of the field. So there's a double layer plasma membrane that defines the toroidal structure of our own personal bubble, if you will. And so it has additional charge. It's got a little more charge there than the sort of ambient space in between our body and the edge of the field. And you can find it with a tuning fork. You can feel it. You can feel that additional resistance and the sort of slight change in tone. It's subtle, but it's absolutely perceptible. And when I was first teaching people, they'd be coming along and they'd hit it and they'd pause and then they would keep going. And I would be like, what just happened right there? And they were like, well, I thought I hit something, but I wasn't sure. Right? I was like, you're not trusting yourself. So this whole not trusting our own senses sets us up to listen to authorities. So we don't trust our own inner healer. We don't trust our own inner teacher. We don't trust our own inner bullshit meter because we've been so trained to like look outside of ourselves for the answers. And the answers that they give us are bunk. They're confusing. They're wrong. They're deliberately right upside down and backwards. And that seems to be the name of the game. It's like whatever they tell you, do the opposite and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
Hi, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy this talk. We have a lofty goal of trying to help change the world in our little way, and for that we need more reach. And we can see at the moment 80% of people who are watching our talks are actually not subscribers. So if you want to help us get a little bit more reach, it would be really helpful if you'd hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
So I think
everything, sorry.
Coming back to our own senses, trusting ourselves, trusting our senses is the path to sovereignty, right? And freedom is not listening to authority. And food is a great place to start. You know, the whole process of intuitive eating, food is what brought me into the healing arts myself, because I became completely corrupted by outside influences that disconnected me from knowing what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, right? I just wasn't even connected to my body. And I was always so puzzled. I was like, how do animals by nature and know what to eat and what not to eat? Right? It seemed like such a strange thing. But now that I have conditioned myself to intuitive eating, I know in the grocery store, I can just kind of feel what I want and need. Like my animal instinct of what I need to do to take care of my own organism has been turned back on. And most people's is off, right? And I think the path to health is getting your own humanness re-engaged and not listening to authorities about anything, really.
Totally. I mean, remember, you know, you used to walk into a fruit shop and you used to smell it.
Yeah.
You used to be, oh, I can smell all the fruit. It doesn't exist anymore, right? They've taken away all these. And it's like, it's an interesting word that you said, Eileen, you know, it's sense, right? We don't sense the world moving. We don't sense the smell. It makes no sense. This is what it is, right? They want us to live in nonsense, no sense.
Yeah.
And this is why, you know, all the experts, they can't explain something to you in a sentence, right? They need their 14, you know, equations in their books and their, you better listen to me. It was blah, blah, blah. The truth is simple. If someone needs to explain stuff to you and take you down a path for you to believe it, it's not the truth. The truth is simple. And like Eileen said, we will know it when we hear it. We just got to trust ourselves.
In the US, they have just made a new food pyramid with the Fruit Loops.
Yeah, so
you should eat the Fruit Loops. Okay. Look at me. It's insane. Yeah.
But I mean, it's the apocalypse, right? The great unveiling.
Yeah.
This is all, you know, we can look at this either way, right? We can look at this as outside, oh my God, you know, the physical world, it's so bad. Look what they're doing to us. They're taking away this from us. They're doing this to us. Or we can go inside and go, wow, they're showing us what's going on. Like that, they're presenting it to it. Like apocalypse means unveiling. Everything is being unveiled. We're seeing everything is based on nothing. All these people running these, you know, politicians and running all these companies that got no ethics at all.
Yeah.
Like they're not the people that we would even want to talk to, let alone let them tell us what to do. And so this is the thing, you know, I see this as a good thing.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
it's probably not so good if you bought it, but you know, it's waking so many people up, and the world's never going to be the same again, right? We're never going back to 2019, so it's great,
God.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because all we've
I
got
mean,
now
I
is
got
potential.
I got a very strong message yesterday because I've been looking at all now. There was like a drag show for kids in the capital of Copenhagen, and then there's this, and everybody's like, oh, it's fighting it, and it's like, but we are enough now that it's not necessary to fight this anymore. Like right now, we have to come together like we're doing now and build up the structures, and not systems, but the structures that are going to create this beautiful world. Like we're fitting this other puzzle over here, and then let them have their puzzle, because it looks batshit insane right now. Like and it's just getting worse all the time. And people will wake up when they wake up. We can't beat them until they wake up now. So we're going to have to build this other world, this other model for them to come to. They see, and when they see what it is. So let's love
Totally.
them. Yeah.
Free. The thing about freedom is you've got to let everyone else be free.
Yeah.
You know, everyone thinks that freedom is running around telling people what to do. Look, if people need to go through that and need to live in a 15-minute city to wake up, well, that's what they got to do. Or like you said, all we need to do is go out and build what we want to build, make sure our kids aren't involved in any of that stuff.
Exactly.
And we just build something better. And then when they're ready and they're awakened, they'll start hopefully walking, you know, the path towards, you know, what we think is a better way to live, right? But yeah, we don't have the right to tell anyone to how to live, just like no one has the right to tell us how to live.
Well, that's true. That's true. And yeah, like we all mentioned, that it's going really fast right now, and we can look at all the 5G towers and everything is really bad, but hvad fanden hedder det?
Telepathy?
Yes.
I got it. I heard you say it.
It's coming back too now, isn't it? And I just had a client, a one-on-one session, and a wonderful woman sitting in Belgium, and currently I'm in the south of France, and we were just doing this Zoom thing, and I could feel her. That's the thing, I can, and now it's called an empath. You're an empath, and apparently 25% of the world's population can do this. So for me, it's just natural. I've always done it, but I could feel her in me. So I could feel all her emotions and where she was stuck physically too. So I was just telling her all this and mirroring back, and she said, it's wonderful. It's like, you know me better than I know myself. Because I could just mirror back her blind spots. Like, we need someone to scratch our backs because we cannot see what is itching, right? So I have to ask for help. So that was what I was doing, but I just think it's so weird, wonderfully weird, that I can feel this woman sitting thousands of kilometers away, and that must be the biofield. I can tune in somehow on her.
Yeah, because it's all one. You're right, because you don't end here. Your magnetic field mingles with hers, and so you can feel resonance in your own body when you put attention on her. The magnetic field that we're all part of, the ether, resonates in you. You know, that's the way that I work. I strike a tuning fork and I listen to someone and I feel all those things in my own body. It's a really useful system for helping people when you can feel their pain and reflect that back to them.
You do that at distance too. Like, you didn't used to, but like you talked about, you had a client that asked you to do it at a distance, and then you thought it was a bit whack, and then it turned out it worked just as well.
Yeah. Well, for years, people asked me if I could do this at a distance, and I was very arrogant, very skeptical, very dismissive. You know how people are programmed to be. And I thought it was nonsense. I was like, this is sound waves on the body. Like, this is physics. Like, how would on earth would I do it at a distance? And then actually, a fellow by the name of Dr. Carl Merritt, who is very knowledgeable about this sort of thing, who actually helped me with my master's thesis. He encouraged me to give it a try, right? So I'm a scientist, a citizen scientist, a natural philosopher, and I love experiments. And so I was like, okay, I'll do this experiment with you, but I don't think it's going to work. And at this point, I had kind of gotten the ability for someone to come into my office and for me to go through their field, sort of like listening to the album of their life, that there's a whole vibrational language that our memories are stored in, that our whole experience is actually vibrations and waves and patterns of things. And we put words on these waves traveling through us, but really the fundamental language, really that all of nature speaks, that animals and plants speak the same vibrational language that music seeks to approximate and express. And it was sort of like a sonic braille that I taught myself, where I learned that specific sounds meant specific things. Like, this is a head injury, this is a breakup, this is a move, this is a car accident, this is inflammation in that joint, this is arthritis in that joint. Like, every single thing has its own frequency signature. And so I had the ability to go through somebody's field and really just tell them all about themselves. So on this particular day, he lay down in his treatment table in his office in California, and I approached my empty treatment table in Vermont, pretending that he was there. Now, I was invested in being right, that it was impossible, okay? And so I didn't go in hoping to find, I just went in very neutrally, because this is what we do in biofield tuning. We just go in and we listen. We don't come in with any intentions or presuppositions or working with your condition or whatever it is. We just come in and we listen to the stories that the field wants to tell us. And simply by listening and holding space and being present, but with a coherent signal in the mix, the body just relaxes and fixes itself. It's so amazing that our bodies are self-tuning instruments. You just have to stick a fork in them and they relax.
And they're done. Stick a fork in it, it's done.
Yeah. So so I approached the table and I started to comb into where his field would be. And much to my amazement, all of the information that I would find when there was a body there appeared. And I took notes and I just went through his whole field and I made all of these observations. There's one point in biofield tuning, sometimes when we get stuck in the field and something won't release or let go, we take weighted forks and we go to the body and we just help release that tension in the body. Any place there's tension in the field, there's tension in the body, sort of like an exploded view. And so I was like, so I got to that juncture where I was stuck and wouldn't move. And I'm like, go to the body. I'm like, but there's no body there. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, there's no body here. So I just took my weighted forks and I brought them over the table and I kind of held them in space over where the body would be, feeling really ridiculous. And then I came back to the field, and just like as if there was a body there, it was easier to move, which completely blew my mind. And we didn't have any open line of communication. So we were just doing this by intention. I wasn't on the phone, I wasn't on Zoom. And so when I finished, I called him and I went through my notes and I was like, you know, you had this injury at this age, your mom has this personality, you have inflammation here, your spleen pancreas isn't working quite right, like all the things, right? And he was like, Eileen, that's all exactly correct. And I felt a state change when you were working. I feel lighter, and I took my blood sugar and it changed for the better. And I was like, get out of town. Like, now I got to eat the serious crow. I tell people that it actually is possible, right? But how is it possible? That's the sort of big question, and why distance healing has always been negated. And the reason why it's been negated is because of what Campbell said earlier, the removal of the ether from our cosmology, because the ether, you know, they talk about quantum entanglement and quantum. I don't use the word quantum. I find it completely useless. But it's resonance in the ether. That's what it is. And it's a very simple, elegant explanation that it's all one thing. I stub my toe, my brain knows it, like, because it's all one thing. So, and I think that this is very intentional, right? Because the connective mediums of ether and plasma that are light, that are connected, have been removed from our cosmological story. I mean, I grew up, I only learned about solid, liquid, and gases because I was indoctrinated into this materialist reality. And they hid the light, basically. So when I discovered plasma and ether, I'm like, I found the light I was looking for. It's a state of matter.
Because there are no things. They're only like more and more dense fields. So it's all fields. Huh.
Yeah. Unlike.
Yeah, more condensed. Yeah.
So Campbell, let's connect this to cathedrals and architecture and bells, organs.
All that stuff. I was just thinking something that's coming popular at the moment is these sound baths, where people are going and they've literally just, you know, they're getting their bells and their bowls and their tuning forks and having these sound baths, right? Frequency baths. That's what a cathedral would have been. You know, we had organs in them, organs, good for your organs, probably. Frequency. We have the choirs in there singing. You know, we have obviously the spires. We have the cymatic windows, the stained glass windows, which also could be. That could be some form of like light therapy, like changing the light frequency as well through the stained glass that we haven't looked into.
You think there were also stained glass back then?
I think some of them were, yeah. I think some were, and some, because what we seem to have, the doorways seem to be the speakers, and they're actually called, the doorways on cathedrals are called archivolts. And another thing, like all cathedrals have vaulted ceilings, right? And they go, oh, no, you spell it V-A-U. It's a vault, right? Voltage, vaulted ceiling, right? So it's all in the language. So they tell us all this. I think that, some of the stained glass, probably that the taller window ones were stained glass, but the round ones were probably acting more like sort of cymatic resonators or some kind. But it looks like that these were basically putting out frequency. You know, to a certain area. We know that bells in mythology were rung to keep trolls away. Yeah. Like literally, it says that to keep the trolls away, right? You ring the bells. And then, of course, in World War II, what did they do? They took all the bells away. And now they tell us they can't make them again because they don't know how to make the brass that they were made out of. And the story is they melted them all down to make weapons. You can't make weapons out of brass. Right? So it's this big, stupid story that they've definitely dismantled everything. And the other thing that is connected right into all this, and of course all the starforts and everything, is water. You know, water, right? What do we call, or what do we say water has when it's moving? It has a current. Yeah. Right? Just like electricity, right? It's flowing. So this is all part of it. And of course you can then tie in holy water, baptism, all this stuff. So it's this, because then you get into Dr. Emoto's work, right? And the ice crystals and the intention. And so it's all this stuff is connected. It's all connected. So basically what we see is that the civilization that was based on what we're trying to build now, right? It was based on how do we make a better life and a better experience for everyone? How do we make everyone healthy? How do we make the food better? How do we make the water better? You know, all the water was getting fractalized, I guess I call it, but it was all getting clean, right? And it was all getting tuned to a high frequency, and we're 70% water, right? Dr. Emoto shows us, you know, if we've got bad thoughts, we get this goopy stuff, and just with intention, you can change that to stars, right? And crystals and all these shapes. So if we're drinking water that's already tainted, you know, that's going to bring, you know, it's going to lower us, right? If we're drinking water that's, you know, full of, you know, frequency and fractals and all this geometry, then it's just going to make us healthy. It's going to feed our energy system. So that's pretty much what's happened. Everything that was good, that was for us, has been dismantled and taken away. They've poisoned the water, they've poisoned the air, they've poisoned the education, like everything. So that's why we needed this, right? What we're going through now, we needed it. We needed to wake up, you know, and thankfully many people are. And so that's where we're going. It's like you said before, you know, we don't have to worry about this other world. Let's just go forward and build a new world. And then when all these people in the cities wake up, they'll have somewhere to go, right?
I hope we're getting the beautiful cities back.
Yeah.
So the buildings you're talking about, if there's any Danes watching here, it's the
Do you want me to show some pictures? I do have some
Yeah,
pictures.
it's the buildings we have in Denmark everywhere.
Do I need to do
Everywhere.
anything for you to be able to share?
Let me have a quick look. Where are we? No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, it says I'm disabled.
Okay,
Participants
I'll make
sharing.
you host.
I don't know how to do it.
You're the host now.
I'm the host. Yep. All right. Taken over.
Yeah.
Well,
That's like, but the thing is with the water and all these things, like they're putting so much work and energy into polluting and destroying all these things, but it's really simple to make water good for you again. Like we had here, and we froze some water straight from the tap, and it was disjointed and chaotic. And just putting our intention into it and then freezing it, it became these beautiful fern-like structures again.
Yeah, and we filter the tap water and then we put it in a big
jar and
with,
stir it.
Yeah, stir it a little bit and then put lemon juice in it
And salt.
Yeah, and it freezes in this beautiful flower patterns.
So they can't
oh,
keep.
nice. Yeah, well, that's what they used to do in sort of Hindu and Sikh religions. They used to put their water in copper bowls and pray to it before they drank it.
Yeah.
So this on the screen, this is called a monstrance. And
what?
See, it's called a monstrance. And it's basically, it's a cathedral, right? So I think these were handheld, this is another one, versions of these, right? Of these cathedrals with all the spires everywhere. So they look like handheld, like smaller versions, right? That looks like a cathedral top, right? We've got the window in here and everything.
And there's a Merkaba in the middle.
In the middle here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got that. We've got the antennas where it's covered in gold, obviously the metal. In these middle bits, some of these have like red stuff, like it looks like it might have had red mercury or something in them. And mercury is another sort of part of this. But look at, see, look at this. This is, you can see this horse and cart. This is a fountain. This is a fountain. Like, look at the size difference. This is like 1870, like late 1870s. But look at this. They've all got spires, right? That this is, we know as you go up in the ether, every every meter is 100 volts. So the higher you go up, the more energy there is. So this is why they're so high and tall with big spires on them. And this is how everything was built, right? This is like a wall with a castle, but it's still the same structure. This is not a cathedral, right? But look at the architecture. And of course, then there's geometry gives off biofields, right? This is a fountain. This had lots of interesting stuff. Bells, so we've got all these pictures that, here's another bell. These were, part of, what we would call ceremony, or, they love to call everything religion and that, but they were probably just, getting healed. Here's another bell. And this is, the basis of all this stuff. Look at this. This looks like a machine, right? It's a bell with a capacitor on the top of it.
Do you have any idea why they would have the bells on the ground like that? Because normally that would make a bell not be able to ring.
Depends what it's sitting on, I guess. It's sitting on this thing. The other ones, yeah, okay. And they also, these look a lot like these things called stupas, which are buildings that look like this. Yeah. And it's probably to do with, setting the resonance down somewhere. But see this on the top?
Yeah.
And the thing is also with these bells, you know, the old bells, when they rang them, they actually sent the frequency out sideways. They didn't send it down through the bottom.
Huh.
So that was part of the alloy that they were made of, is they sent it all out horizontally, not down, up and not vertically, which is another thing. So I've got symmetry. You know, we've just got all these. This is all ancient tech, right? Look at this. This is what we see, apart from being the symbol for the sun. It's also what we see on the wristwatches of all these Sumerian people, right?
Yeah. And the handbag.
So we have all these, and the handbag, So we've got all these similar things. That's more of a stupor. And the story of these, the small ones, I mean, look what's on the top of it, by the way, a little coil. People used to sit inside them. You know, so they were probably resonance baths, this kind of things, right? There you go, right there. They're showing you there's someone inside one, right? One of their god. I mean, look at this is tech. This is tech. This isn't, you know, like, it's clearly tech, right? Bells everywhere, organs, right? Most cathedrals still have their organs. They still have them, but they're in pieces in the basement. They literally they went into all these cathedrals, took these amazing things apart, and then just threw them in the basement. So they were taken out for no reason at all.
And so few people can actually play them now. When you're in church, it's like, you hear that all the time. You're just afraid that they will hit the wrong note because it's horrible. Yeah.
Well, music used to be, you know, so much more intricate, right? We used to have like orchestras and 100-piece orchestras. And now we've been reduced to a pop tart with, you know, auto-tune and a synthesizer.
And
there's nothing left of it.
Frequency change also, like the 430
slide. And so there were things like this everywhere, resonators. So, you know, were these free electricity type energy, or were these to sort of harmonize frequency? All right. I mean,
what's with the combination of that? The ether, electricity, and then sound, like there must be, they did everything for a reason. So there must be a reason for having both in the same place.
Definitely. Everything. I mean, these, you know, we're told these are wells, and they call them step wells because, you know, lots of these things that they call steps. Why you would make steps like that go into a point, I don't know. But this is for water to run down, so it gets charged, right? This is an energy charging, you know, and we see these steps everywhere. You know, all this stuff. This has probably got mercury in it. It's just everywhere. All these, and we're just told, oh no, it was just built by people, you know. With I mean, look at that. I mean, you just get this symmetry. It's all to do with geometric symmetry, which also gives off a field, which is also harmonizing. So it's not just, you know, the cymatics on the ceiling, right? These are all cymatics. As we can see here, these are exactly like those monstrances we looked at, but they're supersized ones. And then on the outside of this cathedral, there'll be an even bigger one, right? Just fractals of the same tech. I mean, that's the outside of it, right? So this is...
then compare that to modern buildings where everything is at 90-degree angles, and you see like dust gets accumulated in the corners. But if you do, if you have like a square jug of anything, like the water will become acidic and die. It'll lose its oxygen. So all these square things, they're literally killing us. That they're blocking our energy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the name for that kind of architecture is brutalism.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell us it's all in the spells, right? It's all in the spelling. That's the first thing they teach us at school. This is an ancient site. I'm pretty sure this is South America, sort of around Tiwanaku, and this is a circuit board.
Yeah.
You know, so it's looking like...
I mean, it's so obvious.
This is a rock in, I think it's Korea or Japan, apart from the fact that looks like a, what are they called, those toys? Transformers. Look at this, right?
It does.
Does that look like some kind of compute? So what we're finding is the whole world was a system, right? This is a church floor. This is an antenna.
Yeah, that's a human resonance generator, that one.
So and this would be underneath a dome.
Oh, that's
And we can see the fractal roof here, and we've got the organ, right? We've got the stained glass window. I mean, it's so the whole world was connected up in one system. As we can see here, most people have seen this picture with this wheel. That's a cymatic pattern.
Yeah,
It's telling us a frequency. And look what he's holding in his hand. Very similar to an ankh.
yeah.
Right. So all this stuff is there, and we're just rediscovering it. So it really does look like we had this all sorted. We had it all done, right? But something happened. Yeah, the pirates came in and we got taken over. But, you know, we had electricity in the 1880s, you know, electric cars, we had it all. This is the JED pillar.
Yeah.
And the ankh, I mean, that's a capacitor. That's an energy source. You know, so all these things that we're told, you know, and they just spent like years, haven't they? Oh, what is this? Oh, you know, and when you look at it, you just go, hang on, that's a capacitor. That's what it is. But they'll spend, you know, years and years explaining to us why it's not what we perceive, why it's not what we, you know, sense, as we said before.
Yeah, we're taught that, you know,
Massive gaslighting.
every kind of technology must be made of nu skal vi gøre det igen. Metal. So when it's made out of rock, it doesn't work. But we see all the brick buildings with the different layers of red and yellow bricks. Well, turns out they can store electricity.
Yep.
So we can use rock.
Yeah, and they're experimenting with it now, like as if it's a new invention of storing electricity and red bricks. It's like it's ancient tech.
Yeah. But it's amazing how they could build all the structures of the old world when we
With
look at
horse and buggy.
with house and buggy. and when we from Denmark, and it's a tiny country, yeah, with like thousands of islands, and we were told that one of the great kings we had, King Christian IV, he built all the big structures we have in Denmark and in Norway too, and maybe some other parts of other countries that we owned at that time. And I think it was in the 15 or 1600, right?
I don't recall, but it's
around there. And at that time, we're told that only 1 million people lived in Denmark. And we were spread out on tiny islands.
Oh, and we were at war too. So while we were at war,
in the wide world could we build those amazing, beautiful structures that we see everywhere in Denmark, even on the tiny islands? How could they do that? All that brickwork, all the copper roofs we have everywhere, the spires and the statues.
We couldn't even afford to build one of them now, and at where we're supposed to, like, of course, there's a decline going on right now, but we're supposed to be the richest we've ever been, and now we can't build one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And building forts in war, I mean, what a stupid story. Yeah. What happens? Does everyone go, okay, let's stop fighting, we'll all go build our forts and come back in 10 years when they're done, then we'll start the war? Yeah, you can't build a fort when you're in a war. It's a dumb story.
Yeah, and all just like the beautiful, like the stock exchange in Denmark was built in that period. It's like, are you building a stock exchange in the middle of a war? It's like, why in the capital of Denmark that is right next to our largest enemy? I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense.
War. No. It's all his story.
Nothing of it makes sense when you dig into it. Like the whole thing, none of it makes sense. Like you really have to be heavily indoctrinated, which we all are, and we are still there. We're just now we are waking up, like Katrine said, like she could tune into that lady and feel her stuck places, but our own stuck stuff, like where we are asleep, where we are heavily indoctrinated, we can't see that right now. Like and so we need somebody like Eileen to come in with her tuning force. Oh, here's something stuck, and then it has to come loose. But we're so traumatized, all of us. We're so asleep, all of us.
So if we could like take the bells back and do like a collective healing. Boom, get it
I
back.
never thought about that, which
Yeah.
Please.
try. So so the bells are brass, but don't they make bullet casings out of brass, Campbell? So they wouldn't make
Oh
weapons
yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I'll give you
out of
that.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the same
So,
kind, but yeah.
I mean, they definitely went somewhere, all of the bells.
Oh,
But one
mm.
place where they still are is in the ether. Like the ringing of the bells, the sounds that they made, and the way that they kept the evil spirits and the trolls or whatever away is something that we can actually tune into. So I thought it might be fun to just spend a few minutes with one of my tuning forks, but to do it, to bring us to a place where we can maybe hear those bells in the record of the ether kind of ringing in our own bodies. And I've never done this before, and I don't know if it'll work, but I thought it would be kind of a neat experiment for us to
Yes.
do.
Oh,
Wanna
awesome.
do that?
Yeah.
Do it.
Please.
Yeah, because when I first started to it was December 2018 when I first discovered Tartaria, and I just had my two front teeth pulled out, unfortunately, and I had no choice but to lie around, something I don't do very often. And so I spent a couple weeks just kind of immersing myself in Tartaria videos, and then I got busy again. But over the last year or so, I've become obsessed, and I think this happens to people where I just like, in fact, I watched your thing last night about the World Fairs, Campbell, that you
Oh,
put.
okay, yeah.
Like every single night, like I am always taking in and I couldn't get enough of it. It's like I just need to absorb this into my soul somehow. Just looking at the architecture, like it's making me remember something, right? There's like, how can I remember what it was like to be human then? Because that's also in the etheric record. And unfortunately, the bells went from being a symbol of health, of harmony, to being one of death. They've taken all of these symbols of life, like the swastika, right? Or like, oh, that's evil and death, or even Isis, the goddess of love and beauty is now a terrorist organization. And the bells are like, ask not for whom the bell tolls, because they're like death. So everything's been kind of corrupted and turned upside down.
Sure.
But the essence of that vibration, is in the record of the being, in the Akasha, even in the water, right? Because water and ether aren't so different when it comes right down to it. Like water is just a denser ether. And so even in the water in our own bodies, there's the potential to access these memories of this greater harmony. So let's just take a moment, and I'm going to use a couple different forks. We'll see maybe what we hear it more in, but I just want you to be curious in listening to the fork. And I got to change my background setting is on medium, so I got to put it on low. And use your imagination, just state, like, I want to hear and feel the bells. I want this to be a portal for, and even what in the organs, like just the whole vibe of what that architecture and that mindset was to elevate and to harmonize. And now we've gone into the opposite, which is to grade and to signal jam. And so I think it's up to each of us individually, right, to start to awaken to the vibe of that world, of that time, of that potential. And as we start to awaken to it in ourselves individually, then we are better able to co-create that from a state of our own beingness.
Yeah. Let's Campbell and us, let's mute. So all the sound will only come from Eileen.
Okay.
Great. So I'm just going to do a test strike and you let me know how it sounds. Good. Okay. All right. So I just want everybody who's watching or listening, just close your eyes and just listen deeply. You can put in headphones or not. It doesn't matter. And let's just intend that we're able to tap into that particular chapter in the Akasha. and let it inform the water in our own bodies. So just in these first few strikes, I'm just kind of hearing the mud in us that's in the way, and it feels muddy, right? So this is just kind of how the tuning forks work. They'll resonate with whatever's in the way, or the distortion, or the dissonance, and then they'll start to move towards that harmony. So these are just kind of muddy and heavy, which is kind of where we're at now as humanity. Well, let's keep going. Okay, so this has been 144 hertz. I'm going to switch to 528 hertz. Good. Okay. I'm just gonna end that there, and come back and open your eyes, and you guys share. You're looking pretty bright-eyed there, Campbell. What did you guys notice while we were doing that?
Oops, I was still muted. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I just sort of tuned into and just sort of saw all the buildings and bells, and just, I don't know, just kind of got a nice kind of energy about it. Yeah, I just sort of let it go, and it felt good.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I mean, it's strange, like the first tuning fork. I mean, if we go by like the physics of it, it should only like produce that one sound, but the sound obviously changed over time, and I could hear that whole like bell nature of it after like the first ring, like the second, and it became more and more belly. But it was like there's yes, of course. but there was this whole, like, there was something that was bigger, that was than the tuning fork, like the and I could feel into something, like when I, like most people, when they experience some sort of healing, like tears will come, and they did. But, so thank you.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. For me, it's because I'm visual.
Anybody out there in YouTube land that wants to chime in?
Yeah.
Chime in.
For me, I felt life back then, and it felt like it was certain times a day that the bells would ring and you would be still. And I grew up close to a small village where they still have a bell in the church. It doesn't ring anymore. But when I grew up, when it was ringing in the morning to bring the sun up, and then in the evening to come down. So that's when you prepared for something. But I felt like way back then, it was also in the middle of the day that you took a break and you sat down and you received that sound and all that healing, that coherence, balancing sound. And the second tone, it felt like my childhood, because that's the sound the TV would make when there was no TV. It would go. So it felt really calming for me. So, yeah, childhood.
Nice. Yeah, I could feel it was helpful, Campbell, to see your architecture pictures first, because I could feel that the sort of architecture. I could feel just the spires and the geometry, and and I just also became aware about how the water molecules in my body started to ring and resonate, and I think that's the star forts and all of this. The water in people was alive and it was harmonious, and that was their experience of themselves. And we can sonically cleanse the waters of the earth. This whole idea that everything's polluted and it's going to take a long time to clear it up, there are frequencies that can be just put in a lake or a river or in the Gulf of Mexico that will resurrect, that will reoxygenate, that will structure the water. Like, cleanup of this mess within and without can all be done very elegantly with sound.